The garage door slammed shut with a resounding thud, trapping Anna inside as the fluorescent lights flickered overhead. She froze, her heart pounding in her ears, as the hooded figures stepped closer, their faces obscured in shadow. "What is the meaning of this?" Anna demanded, her voice trembling. She clutched her purse tightly, every muscle tensed for a fight. The taller of the two intruders scoffed. "You know exactly what this is about, Mrs. Parsons." His deep voice dripped with disdain. "Your blatant disregard for the HOA rules has gone on long enough." Anna's eyes widened as realization dawned. "The HOA? You can't be serious." She backed away, searching frantically for an escape route. "This is breaking and entering. I'll have you arrested." The shorter figure stepped forward, his arms crossed over his chest. "We're well within our rights as the HOA board. Your eyesore of a garage door has been an ongoing issue, and we decided to take matters into our own hands." Anna's mind raced, her pulse thundering. "You can't just." "We can, and we have." The taller man cut her off, his tone final. "Consider this a courtesy before we escalate to fines and legal action." Panic surged through Anna as the men advanced, boxing her in against the far wall. She clutched her purse tighter, her knuckles turning white. "Stay back. I won't let you." The sound of shattering glass pierced the air, and both intruders spun around as the garage door shuddered and groaned. Anna's breath caught in her throat as she watched, frozen in disbelief, as a large rock sailed through the opening, accompanied by the blaring wail of a car alarm. The two men exchanged a frantic glance, then turned and fled, the garage door rattling in their wake. Anna stared after them, her mind reeling, as the alarm echoed through the empty space. Shakily, she made her way to the garage door, peering out at the deserted street beyond. Shards of broken glass crunched under her feet, and she shuddered, realizing just how close she had come to a dangerous confrontation. Adrenaline still coursing through her veins, Anna hurried to her car, fumbling for her keys. She had to get out of here, had to get to the police station and report what had happened. As she slid behind the wheel, she caught a glimpse of movement in her rearview mirror. Her breath caught in her throat as she spotted a figure emerging from the shadows, their face obscured. Hands trembling, she started the engine and peeled out of the driveway, heart racing. "What the hell is going on?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the roar of the engine. She had to get to safety, had to find a way to stop the HOA from terrorizing her any longer. As the suburban landscape blurred around her, Anna knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning. Anna's hands shook as she pulled into the police station parking lot, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She rushed inside, her purse clutched tightly to her chest, and approached the front desk. "I need to report a break-in," she said, her voice wavering. "Members of my HOA just trespassed into my garage and threatened me." The officer behind the desk looked up, his brow furrowed. "Your HOA. That's an unusual complaint." He gestured to a chair. "Have a seat and tell me what happened." Nodding shakily, Anna sat down and recounted the terrifying encounter, her words spilling out in a rush. She described the hooded figures, the confrontation, and the rock that had shattered her garage door, setting off the alarm. The officer listened intently, his expression growing more concerned with each passing moment. "This is a serious situation," he said, once Anna had finished. "We'll need to investigate this thoroughly." He stood and motioned for Anna to follow him. "Come with me, ma'am. Let's get your statement on record and see what we can do." As they walked down the hallway, Anna couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The HOA members had seemed so confident, so certain of their actions. What else were they capable of? Once in the interview room, the officer took down Anna's account in painstaking detail, pausing occasionally to ask clarifying questions. When she described the shadowy figure she'd seen in her rearview mirror, he frowned. "That's troubling," he murmured. "It sounds like they may be watching you." He jotted down a few notes, then met Anna's gaze. We'll need to take this seriously. I'll have a patrol car do regular checks around your neighborhood, and I'll pass this information along to our detectives." Anna nodded, feeling a slight sense of relief, but the unease remained. "What else can I do?" she asked, her hands fidgeting in her lap. "I can't just sit back and wait for them to come after me again." The officer considered her for a moment, then leaned forward. "Well, I can't officially recommend this, but you may want to consider beefing up your home security. Cameras, alarms, that sort of thing. Make it clear you won't be intimidated." Anna's eyes widened, and a spark of determination flared within her. "That's exactly what I'll do," she said, her voice steady. "They won't get away with this." As she left the police station, a newfound resolve filled her. She would not be cowed by the HOA's strong-arm tactics. She would fight back, and she would win. The next morning, Anna was up before the sun, her mind racing with plans and strategies. She needed to fortify her home, to create a barrier that the HOA couldn't breach. First, she called a local security company, outlining her situation in urgent tones. The representative listened intently, then promised to send a technician over as soon as possible to assess her needs. True to their word, a burly, no-nonsense man named Jake arrived within the hour, his truck loaded with an array of high-tech equipment. As Anna led him through the garage, pointing out the shattered door, he whistled low under his breath. "Looks like they really did a number on this place," he said, shaking his head. "Don't worry, ma'am. We'll make sure your home is as secure as Fort Knox." Over the next several hours, Jake and his team worked swiftly and efficiently, installing motion sensors, reinforced locks, and a state-of-the-art alarm system. Anna watched, her nerves on edge, as they meticulously fortified her home. "There," Jake said finally, wiping the sweat from his brow. "That should do it. This place is now protected by the latest in home security technology. Try not to set off the motion sensors, though. That alarm is loud enough to wake the dead." Anna nodded, already mentally calculating her next steps. "Thank you, Jake. I appreciate your hard work. How soon can you have the cameras installed?" "Cameras? Huh." Jake grinned. "Looks like you're ready for an all-out war. I can have a top-of-the-line surveillance system set up in no time. Just say the word." Anna didn't hesitate. "Do it. I want eyes on every inch of this property. I'm not going to let the HOA bully me anymore." As Jake and his team got to work, Anna felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. She was no longer a helpless victim. She was a warrior, ready to defend her home and her rights. Later that day, once the cameras were in place, Anna stood before the monitors, studying the feeds with a critical eye. She would be damned if the HOA was going to catch her off guard again. "Bring it on," she muttered, her gaze hardening. "I'm ready for you." Little did she know, her defiant declaration would soon echo through the neighborhood and beyond. Over the next few days, Anna kept a vigilant watch over the security cameras, her eyes scanning the feeds for any sign of the hooded intruders. But the neighborhood remained eerily quiet, save for the occasional jogger or dog walker. Just as she was beginning to wonder if the HOA had backed off, a notification from the alarm system startled her. Rushing to the monitors, she watched in disbelief as a group of figures approached her front door, their faces obscured. "Not again," she hissed, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She quickly pulled up the audio and listened as the group began to pound on the door, their voices muffled but hostile. "Mrs. Parsons, open up. We know you're in there." Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she debated her next move. Should she call the police? Or confront them herself? Steeling her nerves, she decided on a bold course of action. She strode to the front door, her chin raised defiantly, and flung it open. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice trembling only slightly. The group fell silent, taken aback by her defiant stance. Finally, the tallest figure stepped forward. "We've been more than patient with you, Mrs. Parsons. Your blatant disregard for the HOA bylaws is unacceptable, and we've decided to take further action. Anna's eyes narrowed. Further action? You mean like breaking into my home and threatening me? The figure scoffed. That was a mere misunderstanding. Now we're here to deliver a formal notice of violation. You have 1 week to replace that unsightly garage door or face escalating fines and legal action. Anna's grip on the door frame tightened, her knuckles turning white. I won't be bullied by the HOA any longer. This is my home, and I'll do as I please. The group exchanged uneasy glances, and Anna seized the opportunity. In fact, I've taken the liberty of installing a state-of-the-art security system. If you so much as set foot on my property again, the police will be here in minutes. She paused, her gaze sweeping over the group. Consider this your only warning. Now, get off my property. With that, she slammed the door in their faces, her heart pounding. As she watched the figures retreat, a sense of triumph washed over her. She had stood her ground, and for now, the HOA had backed down. But she knew this was far from over. In the days that followed, Anna kept a close eye on the security fees, waiting for any sign of the HOA's return. To her relief, the neighborhood remained quiet, save for the occasional passerby. But her nerves remained on edge, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the HOA was biding their time, plotting their next move. She knew they wouldn't give up easily, not after she had so boldly defied them. One afternoon, as she was checking the cameras, a notification popped up on her phone. Furrowing her brow, she tapped the alert and watched in dismay as the footage showed a group of men in suits approaching her front door. Not again, she muttered, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she zoomed in on the figures. To her surprise, they weren't the hooded intruders she had encountered before, but rather a group of well-dressed individuals. Steeling her nerves, she opened the door, determined to face this new threat head-on. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice betraying a hint of trepidation. The tallest of the men stepped forward, offering her a sharp-edged smile. "Mrs. Parsons, I presume. My name is Robert Callahan, and I'm the president of the HOA board. We've come to discuss the situation." Anna's eyes narrowed. "Situation? You mean the way your lackeys broke into my home and threatened me?" Callahan raised a hand, his expression placating. Now, let's not dwell on the past. We're here to find a solution that works for everyone." Anna crossed her arms over her chest, her gaze unwavering. "I'm listening." Callahan cleared his throat, his tone shifting to one of practiced diplomacy. "The HOA has decided to offer you a compromise. If you agree to replace the garage door with one that meets our aesthetic standards, we'll waive the fines and drop any legal action." Anna's brow furrowed as she considered his words. It was tempting, to be sure, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was a catch. "And if I refuse?" she asked, her voice low. Callahan's smile tightened. "Then I'm afraid we'll have no choice but to pursue more aggressive measures. The HOA has a reputation to uphold, you understand." Anna's breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding. She knew she was trapped, but she refused to back down. "I'll think about it," she said, her voice steady. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." With that, she closed the door, her mind racing. She couldn't let the HOA bully her into submission, but she also couldn't risk escalating the conflict. She had to find a way to outwit them, to turn the tables in her favor. As she watched the suits retreat, a glimmer of an idea began to take shape in her mind. It was risky, but if it worked, it might just be her key to victory. Over the next few days, Anna set her plan into motion, working tirelessly to turn the tables on the HOA. She knew she was playing a dangerous game, but the stakes were too high to back down. First, she reached out to her neighbors, sharing her story and rallying them to her cause. To her surprise, many of them were more than willing to lend their support, fed up with the HOA's heavy-handed tactics. Together, They began to document every interaction with the HOA, recording video evidence and keeping meticulous records. Anna knew that if she was going to take them down, she would need an ironclad case. Next, she reached out to local media outlets, pitching her story as a David and Goliath battle against an overzealous HOA. To her delight, several reporters were eager to shine a spotlight on the conflict, sensing the potential for a juicy expose. As the media attention began to build, Anna could feel the HOA board growing increasingly uneasy. They had clearly not anticipated such a fierce and public backlash. Finally, the day of the showdown arrived. Anna stood on her porch, flanked by her neighbors, as the HOA representatives approached, their faces now devoid of the confident swagger they had displayed before. "Mrs. Parsons," Callahan began, his voice strained, "we've come to discuss the matter of the garage door one last time." Anna raised a hand, silencing him. "Actually, Mr. Callahan, I have a proposition for you." She stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "I'm willing to replace the garage door, but only if you agree to certain terms." Callahan's eyes narrowed, and he exchanged a wary glance with his colleagues. "And what exactly are those terms?" Anna's lips curled into a triumphant smile. "First, you will publicly apologize for the illegal break-in and the threats made against me. Second, you will agree to implement strict oversight and transparency measures for the HOA board. And third, you will cover the cost of the new garage door installation." The HOA representatives stared at her, stunned into silence. Anna could see the gears turning in their minds, weighing the cost of their defeat against the humiliation of conceding. Finally, Callahan sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Very well, Mrs. Parsons. We accept your terms." As the media cameras rolled and the neighbors cheered, Anna knew she had won. The HOA had been outmaneuvered, and she had emerged victorious. It was a sweet victory, but Anna knew the battle was far from over. The HOA would be watching, waiting for their chance to strike back. But she was ready, her defenses fortified, and her resolve stronger than ever. In the aftermath of her showdown with the HOA, Anna found herself thrust into the spotlight, her story capturing the attention of local and national media outlets. Reporters clamored for interviews, eager to shed light on the David and Goliath battle unfolding in her quiet suburban neighborhood. Anna relished the opportunity to tell her story, to expose the heavy-handed tactics and abuse of power that had become all too common within homeowners associations. She spoke passionately about the need for greater oversight and accountability, calling for legislative reforms to rein in the unchecked authority of HOAs. As her message gained traction, Anna found herself becoming a reluctant symbol of resistance against the tyranny of overbearing HOAs. Homeowners from across the country reached out, sharing their own horror stories and rallying behind her cause. But with newfound fame came a fresh set of challenges. The HOA, stung by their public defeat, refused to back down, and their retaliatory efforts only escalated. Anna's home became the target of vandalism and harassment, with her security cameras capturing a steady stream of suspicious activity. Undeterred, Anna continued to fight, leveraging her media platform to shine a light on the HOA's underhanded tactics. She worked tirelessly to build a coalition of like-minded homeowners, organizing protests and lobbying local politicians to enact stronger protections for homeowners. Slowly but surely, Anna's crusade began to gain momentum. Lawmakers took notice, and several municipalities passed new legislation aimed at curbing the abuses of homeowners associations. The HOA industry found itself under increasing scrutiny, forced to confront the consequences of its unchecked power. As the battle raged on, Anna's resolve only grew stronger. She knew that her fight was about more than just her own home. It was about standing up for the rights and freedoms of homeowners everywhere. The stakes were high, but she refused to back down. In the end, Anna's tenacity and unwavering commitment paid off. The HOA, battered by public outrage and legal challenges, finally conceded defeat, agreeing to a comprehensive overhaul of their governing structure and a commitment to greater transparency and accountability. It was a hard-won victory, but one that Anna took immense pride in. She had proven that even the mightiest of HOA Goliaths could be brought down by the determined spirit of a single, courageous homeowner. As the dust settled, Anna looked around her neighborhood, a smile of satisfaction spreading across her face. The battle may have been won, but the war was far from over. The fight for homeowners' rights would continue, and she was more than ready to lead the charge. In the months that followed her landmark victory against the HOA, Anna's story continued to reverberate throughout the nation, inspiring homeowners across the country to stand up and fight for their rights. Her face became a symbol of resistance, her name synonymous with the battle against the unchecked power of homeowners associations. Anna found herself in high demand, invited to speak at conferences, appear on national television, and even testify before state legislatures. But even as her public profile grew, Anna remained steadfast in her commitment to her local community. She worked tirelessly to implement the reforms she had negotiated with the HOA, ensuring that the new board was held to the highest standards of transparency and accountability. Her efforts did not go unnoticed. Gradually, the atmosphere in the neighborhood began to shift as residents who had once been cowed by the HOA's heavy-handed tactics found the courage to speak up and assert their rights. Anna's home, once the target of vandalism and harassment, became a beacon of hope, a tangible reminder that even the mightiest of Goliaths could be brought down by the determined spirit of a single, courageous individual. As the months turned into years, Anna's legacy only grew in stature. She became a sought-after consultant, advising homeowners associations across the country on how to implement more democratic and equitable governance structures. And in her own community, she continued to be a tireless advocate, working to address the concerns of her neighbors and ensure that the HOA remained true to its newfound commitment to transparency and accountability. But even as she celebrated her hard-won victories, Anna knew that the fight was far from over. Homeowners associations, like any powerful institution, would always be prone to abuse and overreach. Vigilance and continued activism would be the keys to ensuring that the rights of homeowners were protected. As she looked out over her meticulously maintained garden, the security cameras discreetly monitoring the perimeter, Anna couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and determination. She had fought the good fight, and she would continue to do so, for as long as it took to ensure that no other homeowner would have to endure the kind of harassment and injustice that she had faced. It had been a long and arduous journey, but in the end, Anna knew that she had emerged victorious. The HOA had been tamed, and the rights of homeowners had been safeguarded. And for that, she would be forever grateful.